The Great Hall of Velos Prime was the largest room in the known galaxy. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds sometimes formed inside it. 12 massive chairs circled a platform made of pure crystal, and in each chair sat a delegate from a different alien species. Today, they had gathered to discuss something new. Today, they would decide the fate of humanity. Captain Kim Tae stood alone on the crystal platform. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and calm eyes. He wore the simple blue uniform of the United Earth Fleet, with 3 gold stars on his collar. Back on Earth, he was considered a hero. He had led rescue missions, negotiated peace treaties, and never lost a single soldier under his command. But here, surrounded by beings who had traveled the stars for thousands of years, he felt very small. The Morvani delegate, an ancient creature named Councilor Dral, watched the human with curious eyes. Dral had lived for 800 years. His skin was gray and wrinkled like old paper, and his forearms moved slowly as he adjusted his robes. He had seen many species come before this council. Most of them were forgotten now, but something about the humans interested him. "You may speak," said the council speaker, a floating orb of light that served as the neutral voice of the assembly. Captain Tae took a deep breath. "Thank you, honored delegates. I come before you today to request membership in the Galactic Council for Humanity. We are a young species. We have only traveled among the stars for 200 years. But we come in peace. We wish to learn from you, to trade with you, and to stand beside you as equals." A harsh laugh cut through the air. It came from the largest chair in the circle, where Ambassador Kira of the Velthari sat like a queen on her throne. The Velthari were tall creatures with dark blue skin and sharp teeth. Their eyes were red, and their hands ended in claws. For 10,000 years, they had conquered and enslaved other species. They were the most feared race in the galaxy. "Equals?" Kira said, her voice dripping with contempt. "You wish to stand as equals with us?" She rose from her chair and walked toward the platform. She was nearly 8 feet tall, and she looked down at Captain Tae like he was an insect. "Look at you. You have no claws, no armor. Your lives last barely 100 years. You come from a tiny planet on the edge of nowhere, and you dare to ask for equality?" Captain Tae did not step back. He did not look away. "We may be young," he said quietly, "but we have come far in a short time. We have much to offer." Kira laughed again. "You have nothing to offer. Your species is weak. You are prey animals playing at civilization." She turned to address the other delegates. "I say we reject their request. Better yet, I say we make them a protectorate of the Velthari Empire. We will teach them their proper place in the galaxy." Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Morvani counselor frowned. The insect-like Krell clicked their mandibles nervously. Captain Tae remained calm. "We respectfully decline any offer of protectorate status. Humanity stands on its own." Kira's red eyes narrowed. "We shall see about that." The session ended without a vote. The delegates would return to their governments and discuss the matter. Captain Tae returned to his ship, the UEF Horizon, and sent a report back to Earth. He told them about the Velthari's hostility and warned them to be careful. But he believed that diplomacy would win in the end. Humans were good at making friends. They would find a way. He was wrong. 3 days later, a human science vessel called the Starlight was traveling through neutral space. It carried 300 civilians, including scientists, doctors, teachers, and their families. They were on a mission to study a distant nebula and meant no harm to anyone. Dr. Una Park stood on the observation deck, watching the stars drift by. She was 32 years old, with short black hair and kind eyes. She was one of the best xenobiologists in the fleet, and she had spent her career trying to understand alien life. Next to her stood her younger brother June, who worked as a medical officer on the ship. "It is beautiful out here," June said softly. "Sometimes I forget how lucky we are to see all this." Yuna smiled. "That is why we do this work. To explore, to learn, to understand." An alarm shattered the peaceful moment. Red lights flashed across the deck. The ship shook violently. "All hands, this is Captain Lee," a voice said over the speakers. "We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. All civilians report to the safe rooms immediately." Yuna grabbed June's arm. "Come on, move." They ran through the corridors as the ship shook again and again. Explosions echoed through the hull. Smoke filled the air. Around them, people screamed and cried as they tried to find safety. When they reached the safe room, it was already full of frightened civilians. Children cried in their parents' arms. Old people sat with their heads in their hands. Yuna and June pushed inside, just as the door sealed behind them. Then the lights went out. When they came back on, everything had changed. The ship was no longer moving. The hum of the engines was gone. And standing in the corridor outside the safe room was a group of Velthari soldiers, their red eyes glowing in the dim light. A Velthari officer stepped forward. He was even bigger than Ambassador Kira, with scars covering his face. "By order of the Velthari Empire," he announced, "this vessel and all its passengers are now property of the Empire. You will obey, or you will die. The choice is yours." Yuna felt June grip her hand tightly. She looked around at the 300 terrified faces surrounding her. Scientists, doctors, children. They had done nothing wrong. They had threatened no one. And now they were prisoners. Far away. On Velos Prime, Ambassador Kira received the news with a smile. The capture had gone perfectly. Now the humans would have to submit. They would have to accept Velthari rule or watch their people die. It was so simple. It was so easy. She had made one mistake, though. She thought humans were like other species. She thought they would bend. She thought they would break. She did not understand that humans were different. She did not know that somewhere deep inside every human being, there was a fire that had burned since the beginning of time. A fire that made them cross oceans and climb mountains. A fire that made them stand against impossible odds and never give up. Kira thought she had won. She had only lit the match. On Earth, the news of the capture spread like wildfire. Families wept. Leaders gathered in emergency meetings. And in every city, on every continent, in every heart, a question began to form. What would they do to get their people back? The answer would shake the galaxy to its core. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so tense. Delegates whispered nervously to each other. Guards stood at every door. The floating orb that served as speaker glowed brighter than usual, as if it too felt the danger in the air. Captain Kim Tae stood on the crystal platform once again. But this time, he was not asking for membership. This time, he was asking for his people back. Ambassador Kira sat in her throne with a smile on her face. She looked like a hunter who had finally caught her prey. Her clawed fingers tapped against the armrest of her chair in a slow, steady rhythm. "The Velthari Empire has presented its demands," the speaker announced. "In exchange for the safe return of the human prisoners, humanity must surrender all military vessels to Velthari control. Humanity must give up all territorial claims beyond their home system. And humanity must accept protectorate status under Velthari rule." The chamber went silent. Every delegate turned to look at the lone human standing on the platform. Captain Tae's face showed nothing. His voice was steady when he spoke. "May I address Ambassador Kira directly?" The speaker flickered. "You may." Tae turned to face the Velthari delegate. Their eyes met. Red against brown. Predator against prey. Or so Kira thought. Ambassador Kira, Tay said slowly. I ask you one time, and one time only. Release our people. Return them safely to Earth. If you do this, we can discuss peace. We can find a way forward together. Kira's smile grew wider. And if we do not, then there will be consequences. Laughter burst from Kira's throat. It was a cold, cruel sound that echoed through the great hall. Consequences from you? Little human, what could you possibly do to us? The Velthari Empire has conquered 100 worlds. We have crushed species far more powerful than yours. What makes you think you can threaten us? Captain Tay did not answer. His hands, which had been resting at his sides, began to shake. Not with fear, with something else. Something that looked almost like rage dawn. It was Counselor Drail who spoke next. The ancient Morvani rose slowly from his seat, his forearms spreading wide. His gray face was troubled, and his old eyes were full of worry. I must speak, Drail said. His voice was soft, but somehow it filled the entire chamber. I have lived for 8 centuries. I have watched empires rise and fall. I have studied every species that has ever come before this council. And I have spent many months studying humanity. He stepped down from his seat and walked toward the platform. His movements were slow and careful, like a man walking toward a sleeping dragon. Ambassador Kira, he continued, you see the humans as weak because they smile, because they create art and music, because they keep small animals as companions and weep at stories that are not real. You think these are signs of weakness. He paused and looked around the chamber. But I have read human history. I have studied their past. And what I found there, he shook his old head. What I found there terrified me. Kira rolled her eyes. Get to the point, old one. Drawl turned to face her directly. I read about a place called Stalingrad, a human city where 2 armies fought in the ruins of broken buildings. The humans there ate rats and leather to survive. They fought with knives when they ran out of bullets. They lost over 1 million lives. But they did not surrender. They never surrendered. The chamber was silent now. Even Kira had stopped smiling. I read about warriors called Spartans, Drawl continued. 300 of them stood against an army of hundreds of thousands. They knew they would die. They fought anyway. They held their ground until the last man fell. He moved closer to Kira's throne. I read about a weapon they created. A single bomb that turned an entire city into dust and fire. They called it an atomic bomb. And here's what frightened me most, Ambassador. They did not create this weapon to use against aliens. They created it to use against each other. A murmur ran through the delegates. Even the speaker's light flickered nervously. Drell's voice dropped low. Humans are not prey animals, Ambassador Kira. They only look that way because they have chosen to be peaceful. They have chosen to be kind. But underneath that choice, underneath the smiles and the music and the tears, there is something else. Something old. Something dangerous. He reached the base of Kira's throne and looked up at her with ancient, knowing eyes. I am begging you, release the humans. Because the gods themselves cannot help you when humans rage. This is not a threat. This is a warning from someone who has seen the patterns of history. Do not make them your enemy. Do not push them past the point of no return. Because once that line is crossed, there will be no going back. Not for you. Not for anyone. The chamber held its breath. Kira stared at the old Morvani for a long moment. Then she threw back her head and laughed again. You are a fool, Counselor. A weak, frightened old fool. The Velthari have conquered species with fangs and claws and powers you cannot imagine. We do not fear these soft little creatures from their soft little world. She waved her clawed hand dismissively. Your warning means nothing to us. Counselor Drill closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were full of sadness. Then I am sorry for what is to come. I am sorry for your people. I am sorry for everyone who will suffer because you would not listen. He turned and walked back to his seat. As he passed Captain Tay, he placed one of his 4 hands on the human's shoulder. May your people find the strength they need, he whispered. And may you find mercy when this is over. Captain Tay looked at the old alien. Something passed between them. An understanding. A respect. Then Tay turned back to face the council. When he spoke, his voice was different. The calm was still there, but now there was something underneath it. Something cold and hard as steel. 48 hours, he said. You have 48 hours to release our people. After that, we come for them ourselves. Kira sneered. And what will you do? Send your tiny fleet against our armada? You would be destroyed before you crossed the border. Captain Tay looked at her with eyes that had changed. The kindness was gone. The diplomacy was gone. What remained was something ancient. Something human. Then we will be destroyed, he said simply. But we will come anyway. Every ship, every soldier, every man, woman, and child who can hold a weapon. We will come for our people. And we will not stop until they are free or we are all dead. There is no other choice for us. There never was. He turned and walked off the platform. He did not look back. Ambassador Kira watched him go with contempt in her eyes. She saw only a weak creature making empty threats. She saw only prey pretending to be predator. She did not see the truth. She did not see that 48 hours from now, the galaxy would change forever. And she did not see Counselor Drow, sitting quietly in his chair, sending an urgent message to his home world. The message was simple. It contained only 3 words. Evacuate immediately. War is coming. The countdown had begun. Earth had never moved so fast. Within 1 hour of Captain Tay's message reaching home, the President of the United Earth Government called an emergency meeting. Within 2 hours, every military vessel in the fleet received new orders. Within 3 hours, factories that made toys and cars and household items began making weapons instead. And within 6 hours, something remarkable happened. Something that no alien species had ever witnessed before. Humanity stopped arguing with itself. For 200 years, humans had brought their old conflicts with them into space. Nations still competed. Politicians still debated. People still disagreed about everything from taxes to music to what made a good cup of coffee. But when news of the kidnapping spread, all of that stopped. It stopped completely. In the great cities of Earth, millions of people gathered in the streets. They did not riot. They did not protest. They simply stood together, holding candles and pictures of the captured civilians. Old enemies embraced. Lifelong rivals shook hands. Countries that had fought wars against each other for centuries now stood shoulder to shoulder, because somewhere out there, 300 of their own were in danger, and that was all that mattered. Admiral Mari Song received her orders while she was at home, playing with her grandchildren in her garden. She was 62 years old, with gray hair and laugh lines around her eyes. She had retired from active combat 15 years ago. She had thought her fighting days were over. She was wrong. "Grandma, do you have to go?" her youngest grandchild asked, tugging at her sleeve. Admiral Song knelt down and looked into the child's eyes. "Yes, little one. I have to go. There are people out there who need help, and it is my job to help them. Will you come back?" Song smiled and kissed the child's forehead. "I will do everything I can to come back. I promise." 4 hours later, she stood on the bridge of the UE Vengeance, the largest battleship in the human fleet. Around her, officers rushed to their stations. On the screens, she could see the other ships forming up. 47 vessels in all. Cruisers, destroyers, fighters, and support ships. It was not a large fleet. It was not nearly enough to face the Volturi Armada, but it was what they had. And they would use it. "Admiral on deck," Commander Hain called out. He was her second in command, a young man with sharp eyes and a quick mind. "As you were," Song said, taking her seat in the command chair. She looked at the stars on the view screen. Somewhere out there, 300 people were waiting for rescue. Somewhere out there, her soldiers would fight and perhaps die. She pulled out a small photograph from her pocket. It showed her grandchildren, smiling in the sunlight. She placed it on her console where she could see it. "Commander," she said quietly, "why do you think we fight?" Hain thought for a moment. "For Earth, Admiral. For humanity." Song shook her head. "No, we fight for them." She pointed at the photograph. "For our children, our families, our future. That is why we will win. Because the Velthari fight for conquest. We fight for love." On the captured science vessel Starlight, Dr. Una Park was also fighting. But her battle was different. It was a battle of patience and hope. The Velthari had separated the prisoners into groups. Scientists in one area, medical staff in another, families in a third. But they had made a mistake. They had put Una and her brother June together. And they had underestimated what two determined humans could do. "Keep your head down," Una whispered to June as a Velthari guard walked past. "And keep mapping." For 6 days now, they had been secretly studying the ship. Every corridor, every door, every weakness. June had built a tiny radio transmitter from scraps of medical equipment. It was weak, barely strong enough to reach the edge of the system. But it was enough. Every night, when the guards changed shifts, Una sent out a burst transmission. Ship layout, guard positions, prisoner locations. She did not know if anyone was receiving it. She did not know if rescue was coming at all. But she kept sending anyway, because that was what humans did. They kept trying. They never gave up. One evening, a young Velthari guard stopped in front of their cell. He was smaller than the others, with curious eyes instead of cruel ones. He looked at the prisoners with something that might have been pity. "Why do you not just surrender?" he asked. "Accept your fate. The Velthari always win. Your fleet is small. Your species is weak. There is no hope for you." June looked up at the guard. His face was tired, but his eyes were bright. "Can I tell you a story?" he asked. The guard tilted his head. "A story? A long time ago on our world, there was a war. A very bad war. One side had more soldiers, more weapons, more everything. They thought they would win easily. But the other side refused to surrender. They fought in the snow and the mud. They ate grass and tree bark when their food ran out. They carried their wounded on their backs for miles. And in the end, after years of fighting, they won." The guard snorted. "That proves nothing." June smiled. "It proves everything. You see, we humans have been fighting against impossible odds for our entire existence. We have fought ice ages and plagues and famines. We have fought predators twice our size and enemies 100 times our number. And we are still here. We are still standing." He leaned forward. "Your people think we are weak because we are soft on the outside. But inside, we are made of something you do not understand. We are made of stubbornness and love and a fire that never goes out. You have captured 300 of us. But millions are coming to set us free. And when they get here, you will wish you had listened to the warning." The guard stared at him for a long moment. Then he walked away without another word. Una put her hand on June's shoulder. "That was brave," she said. "It was true," June replied. "I believe it. I believe they are coming for us." "They are," Una said. "They have to be. Back at the Galactic Council, panic was spreading. The Marvani had withdrawn their delegate entirely. The Krell had recalled their ambassador. 3 other species had announced neutrality. Counselor Drell sent one final message before he left Velos Prime. It went to every news network in the galaxy. "I have warned the Velthari," he said to the camera, his old face heavy with sorrow. "I have begged them to release the humans. They would not listen. Now I can only pray for everyone involved. This is the beginning of something terrible. I have seen war before. I have seen conquest and defeat and the fall of empires. But I have never seen anything like what is coming. The humans are not an empire. They are not an army. They are a family. And they are coming to bring their children home. May the stars have mercy on us all." On the bridge of the UEF Vengeance, Admiral Song watched Drow's message in silence. Around her, her officers worked with grim determination. "Admiral," Commander Hyan said, "the fleet is ready. All 47 vessels report full combat readiness." Song nodded slowly. She looked at the photograph of her grandchildren one more time. Then she placed her hands on the arms of her command chair. "Set course for Velthari space," she said. "Maximum speed. No stops. No delays." "Admiral," Hyan said quietly, "intelligence says they have over 200 warships waiting for us. We are outnumbered 4 to 1. Song turned to look at him. Her eyes were calm, but there was fire beneath them. "Then we will have to fight 4 times as hard." She stood up and addressed the entire bridge. "Listen to me, all of you. Today we fly into the darkness. Today we face an enemy that believes we are weak. Today some of us may die. But we do not fly for glory. We do not fly for conquest. We fly because 300 of our people are waiting for us. Because somewhere out there, mothers are separated from their children. Brothers are separated from their sisters. And every single one of them is counting on us." Her voice grew stronger. "The Velthari think they know what humans are capable of. They are about to find out how wrong they are. Now take us to war." The engines roared to life. The fleet moved as one. 47 ships against an empire. The storm had arrived. The Velthari warlord Torn stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. He was the largest Velthari anyone had ever seen, standing nearly 9 feet tall with muscles like twisted steel cables. Scars covered his face and arms from 100 battles. He had never lost a fight in his entire life. Today, he expected to add another easy victory to his record. "Award," his tactical officer reported. "The human fleet has been detected entering our space." 47 vessels, sir." Torn laughed. It was a deep, rumbling sound that shook the walls. 47? Against our 212. He shook his massive head. "These humans are even more foolish than I thought. They rush to their own destruction. They are using an unusual approach vector, sir. They are coming directly through the asteroid belt at high speed." Torn frowned. No sane commander would do that. The asteroid belt was dense and dangerous. One wrong move and a ship could be torn apart by collisions. They must be desperate. "Form our battle line. Let them come to us. We will crush them like insects." What Torn did not know was that the humans had spent the last 3 days mapping every rock in that asteroid belt. What he did not know was that they had trained for this exact kind of approach for years. And what he did not understand was that humans did not think like other species. Other species fought to win. Humans fought to survive. And survival required risks that no other species would take. The human fleet burst out of the asteroid, belt like a hammer from the forge. They came in tight formation, shields overlapping, weapons hot. And they were moving faster than any Velthari had ever seen ships move. All ships, This is Admiral Song. Nari's voice rang across the fleet. Remember why we are here. Remember who we are fighting for? Today, we bring our people home. Today, we show the galaxy what humanity is made of. No mercy, no retreat, no surrender. For Earth, for family, for everyone we love. The first Valkyrie ships opened fire. Beams of purple energy cut through space, slamming into the human shields. The UEF Steadfast took a direct hit to its port side. Flames erupted from the wound. But the ship kept flying. It kept fighting. Return fire. Admiral Song commanded. All batteries weapons free. The human fleet unleashed everything it had. Missiles streaked across the void. Energy cannons blazed. Point defense systems filled the space between ships with walls of hot metal. And the humans did something the Valkyrie did not expect. They charged directly into the enemy formation. What are they doing? Torn roared. They're flying straight into our guns. Are they insane? They were not insane. They were human. The tactic was called close quarters assault. It was dangerous. It was terrifying. And it worked. At close range, the Valkyrie's numerical advantage mattered less. Their larger ships became clumsy targets. Their formations broke apart as they tried to avoid hitting each other, and the humans were not afraid to get close. Very close. Captain Day-Wan commanded the cruiser Braveheart. He was 50 years old, a veteran of a dozen battles. When his ship took a critical hit to its engine core, he knew there was only one choice left. All hands, abandon ship, he ordered calmly. I will handle the rest. His crew protested, but he was already sealing himself on the bridge. My children, he said softly to no one. I hope I have made you proud. He aimed his crippled ship at the engine section of a Valkyrie battleship. He pushed the engines to full power. The Braveheart screamed forward on its final journey. The collision was spectacular. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the entire battlefield. One human cruiser, one Valkyrie battleship. An equal trade, but it was more than that. It was a message. It was a statement. It said, we will pay any price. We will make any sacrifice. You cannot defeat us because we have already decided that losing is not an option. The Valkyrie had never faced an enemy like this. They were used to species that calculated odds. Species that retreated when the numbers turned against them. Species that valued their own survival above all else. But humans did not think that way. Humans thought about the people they loved. And for those people, there was nothing they would not do. The battle raged for 3 hours. The space around the captured science vessel became a graveyard of burning ships and floating debris. The Valkyrie lost 43 vessels. The humans lost 18. Neither side would back down. On the starlight. Dr. Yuna heard the explosions getting closer. She gathered the prisoners in the medical bay, the most protected part of the ship. Around her, people prayed and cried and held each other. They are here, she told them. I told you they would come. Now we just have to hold on a little longer. A Valkyrie guard burst into the room. His red eyes were wild with fear. You, all of you, come with me. We are moving you to a secure location. Jun stepped in front of his sister. We are not going anywhere. The guard raised his weapon. You will obey, or you will die. Jun stared at him without flinching. Our people are out there, fighting for us. If you shoot me, it will not change anything. They will still come. They will never stop coming. Is that really how you want to spend your last moments? Threatening unarmed prisoners? The guard hesitated. His hand shook. For a moment, Yuna thought he might actually shoot. Then an explosion rocked the ship. The lights went out. Emergency alarms blared. And when the backup power came on, the guard was gone. He had run, All hands, prepare for boarding. A human voice announced over the ship's speakers. Repeat, human forces are boarding the vessel. All prisoners take cover. The door to the medical bay exploded inward. Through the smoke and fire stepped figures in black armor. Human armor. Earth Fleet Marine Corps. The lead Marine pulled off his helmet. Yuna felt her heart stop. It was Sergeant Minho, her husband. The man she had married 5 years ago in a small ceremony on a beach in Korea. The man she thought was stationed on the other side of the galaxy. Yuna! He ran to her, pulling her into his arms. Oh God, Yuna. I thought I had lost you. I thought, Minho. She was crying. She could not stop crying. How? How are you here? I volunteered, he said, his voice breaking. The moment I heard. I was on the first transport to Admiral Song's fleet. I told them I would not stay behind. I told them I would come for you, even if I had to fly here alone. Around them, Marines were securing the room. Prisoners were being led to safety. The battle was still raging outside, but in this moment, none of it mattered. June appeared at Minho's side and embraced his brother-in-law. I knew you would come. I knew it. Minho grinned through his tears. Of course I came. You are family. And we never leave family behind. On the bridge of the Destroyer of Worlds, Warlord Torm watched his empire crumble. Half his fleet was gone. The humans had breached the prison ship. And still they kept fighting, kept pressing forward, kept refusing to die. How? He whispered. How is this possible? They are weak. They are nothing. How are they doing this? His tactical officer had no answer. Torm made a decision. He was a warrior. He had never run from a battle in his life. But he was not a fool. He could see the writing on the stars. All ships, retreat, he ordered. His voice was hollow. Fall back to the secondary defensive line. We will regroup. As the remaining Velthury ships turned to flee, Admiral Song watched them go from her damaged bridge. Half her console screens were cracked. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead. Around her, her crew worked frantically to keep the ship together. Should we pursue, Admiral? Commander Hyan asked. Zhang shook her head. No, we came for our people. And we have them. That is all that matters. She allowed herself a small smile. Besides, I think the Velthury have learned their lesson. She was right. The galaxy had watched. Every species, every world, every delegate who had doubted humanity now understood the truth. You could mock them. You could threaten them. You could even hurt them. But gods help you if you touch their family. The aftermath of the battle was felt across the entire galaxy. 18 human ships had been destroyed. 4,000 soldiers had given their lives. But every single hostage, all 300 civilians, returned home safely. Not one was left behind. The Velthury fleet had lost 109 vessels. Their home system was surrounded by what remained of the human fleet, along with ships from the Morvani and 3 other species who had decided to join humanity's side. Trade with the Velthury Empire collapsed overnight. Their economy, which had been built on fear and conquest, fell apart in a matter of weeks. For 10,000 years, the Velthury had ruled through terror. In one day, humans had shown the galaxy that terror could be defeated. The Galactic Council reconvened on Velos Prime 1 month after the battle. But this time, everything was different. The Velthury seat was empty. Ambassador Kira had been stripped of her rank and arrested for crimes against civilization. She would face justice before a tribunal of all 12 species. Captain Kinte walked into the Great Hall once again. But he did not walk alone. Admiral Narration stood at his right side, wearing a new medal on her chest. Dr. Yuna Park stood at his left, her head held high. Behind them came a procession of humans, Soldiers and scientists, doctors and engineers, mothers and fathers and children. They filled the platform and spilled out into the chamber beyond. The delegates watched in silence. There were no mocking laughs this time. There was only respect. "Humanity requests to address the council," Captain Tay said. The speaker glowed. "You may speak." Tay looked around the chamber. He saw the Marvani delegation, led by Councillor Dryle, who smiled at him with warmth. He saw the insect-like crow, clicking their mandibles in what he now recognized as a sign of approval. He saw a species who had feared humans a month ago, now looking at them with something like admiration. "1 month ago," Tay began, "I stood here and asked for membership in this council. I was told that humanity was weak. I was told that we were prey animals. I was told that we had nothing to offer." He paused. "Today, I am not here to ask for anything. I am here to tell you who we are." He gestured to the people behind him. "We are scientists who reach for the stars not to conquer them, but to understand them. We are doctors who heal the sick because every life matters. We are artists who create beauty because our souls need it to survive. We are parents who would cross the universe for our children. We are friends who would die for each other without a second thought." His voice grew stronger. "We are peaceful because we choose to be peaceful. We are kind because we believe kindness makes the universe better. We build instead of destroy. We welcome instead of fear. That is who we want to be." He looked directly at the empty Valkyrie seat. "But there is another side to us. A side we keep hidden. A side we do not like to speak about. Because when our loved ones are threatened, when our homes are attacked, when everything we hold dear is at risk, something else wakes up inside us. Something old. Something primal. Something that has lived in our blood since the first human stood up and decided to fight instead of run." The chamber was completely silent. "We do not want war. We never want war. But if war comes to us, if someone chooses to harm those we love, then we will fight with everything we have. We will sacrifice anything. We will endure any pain. We will never, ever give up. Not because we love violence, but because we love each other more than we love ourselves." He stepped back and let Admiral Song take his place. "I am a grandmother," Song said simply. "I have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. I spent my retirement learning to garden and paint. I thought my days of battle were behind me." She smiled sadly. "But when I heard that 300 of my people were taken, I did not hesitate for 1 second. I put on my uniform. I took command of a fleet, and I flew into the darkness against impossible odds." She looked at the delegates one by one. "Do you want to know why? Because somewhere on that captured ship was a young doctor named Yuna, who had sent a wedding invitation to my daughter 3 years ago. Because there was a medical officer named June, who had treated my chief engineer's broken leg on a training exercise. Because there were children on that ship, children who had never hurt anyone. Children who deserved to grow up and fall in love and have children of their own." Her voice cracked slightly. "Every single person on that ship was someone's child, someone's friend, someone's future. And we humans do not abandon our future. Not for anything. Not ever." Dr. Yuna stepped forward next. She was still thin from her weeks in captivity, but her eyes were bright. "I was on that ship," she said. "I was a prisoner. I watched the Valkyrie guards mock us. I heard them say we would never be rescued. I saw people lose hope," she smiled. "But I never lost hope. Not for 1 moment. Because I knew what was coming. I knew that somewhere out there, millions of people were working to bring us home. Factories were making weapons. Soldiers were training. Scientists were calculating. And ordinary people, people who had never met me, people who would never know my name, were praying for us." Her voice filled with emotion. "That is what it means to be human. We are not alone. We are never alone. We are connected to each other by bonds that cannot be broken. And when one of us suffers, all of us feel it. When one of us is lost, all of us search. When one of us needs help, all of us answer. Finally, young June stepped forward. The medical officer who had stood against a Valkyrie guard with nothing but words. "I want to speak to Ambassador Kira," he said. A ripple of surprise went through the chamber. Kira was brought in by guards, her wrists bound in energy shackles. She looked smaller than before, defeated, broken. June walked toward her. He stopped just a few feet away. "You asked me once what we are," he said quietly. "You wanted to know what makes humans special. Let me tell you." He met her red eyes without fear. "We are special because we believe in second chances. We are special because we can forgive. We are special because even after everything you did, I do not hate you. I pity you." Kira flinched as if struck. "You have spent your whole life conquering and destroying. You have never known what it feels like to love something so much that you would die for it. You have never known the joy of family, the warmth of friendship, the peace of knowing someone will always be there for you." June shook his head. "That is the real difference between us. It is not about strength or weapons or technology. It is about love. We have it. You never did. And that is why you will never understand us. That is why you will always lose." He turned and walked back to his sister. Yuna took his hand and squeezed it tight. The council voted that day. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with seats on every committee and trade agreements with all 11 remaining species. The Valkyrie Empire was dissolved. Its colonies were freed. Its military was dismantled. A new age had begun. After the ceremony, Councilor Drow approached Admiral Song. The ancient Morvani moved slowly, but his eyes were bright. "I have watched civilizations for 800 years, he said. "I have seen species that burned bright and faded fast. I have seen empires that seemed eternal crumble into dust. But I have never seen anything like your species." Song smiled. "We are nothing special, Counselor. We are just humans." "No," Drow said softly. "You are much more than that. You are a paradox, a contradiction. You are gentle and fierce, peaceful and dangerous, forgiving and unstoppable. You should not exist, and yet you do. And because you exist, the galaxy will never be the same." He placed one of his 4 hands on her shoulder. "Guard that contradiction, Admiral. It is your greatest strength. Never become only peaceful, or you will be destroyed. Never become only warlike, or you will destroy yourselves. Stay balanced. Stay human. And the stars will be yours." 3 months later, Dr. Una Park stood on the bridge of her own ship. The UEF Discovery was a new research vessel, designed for exploration instead of war. Her brother June served as her chief medical officer. Her husband Minho commanded the small marine detachment. Just in case, through the viewscreen, she could see Earth in the distance. Small, blue, fragile. "Home. Where do we go now?" June asked, standing beside her. Una smiled. "Everywhere. Anywhere. The universe is full of wonders waiting to be discovered. And we're going to find them." Behind them, the crew worked at their stations. Scientists and explorers, dreamers and seekers. Humans reaching for the stars, not because they wanted to conquer them, but because they could not resist the mystery. Somewhere out there, other species were watching. Some with curiosity, some with fear, some with hope. All of them now knew the truth about humanity. They were peaceful. They were kind. They created art and told stories and wept at sunsets. But they were also warriors when they needed to be. They were survivors. They were family. And the warning had become legend throughout the galaxy. Parents told it to their children. Soldiers whispered it before battle. Diplomats remembered it when they sat across from human delegates. Gods help you when humans rage, because when they did, no force in the universe could stand against them. Not for conquest, not for glory. For love. Always for love.